What if an ordinary copper coin you have seen countless times holds historical secrets and hidden value that most people simply never notice? Among all the coins ever struck by the United States Mint, few are as universally recognized and beloved as the Lincoln wheat cent. For generations, these small copper pieces have been the starting point for millions of collectors, passed down in old cigar boxes, glass jars, and inherited albums. Yet experienced numismatists know that not all wheat pennies are created equal. The subtle differences between an everyday circulation find and a certified condition rarity can mean the difference between a coin worth a few cents and a museum-quality piece commanding thousands of dollars at auction. Today, we are taking a closer look at two specific issues from the post-World War II era that perfectly illustrate this fascinating divide. By examining the historical context, the physical specifications, the brutal realities of professional grading, and the legitimate mint errors that occasionally emerge, you will understand exactly what separates common pocket change from truly elite collector coins. 1946, Lincoln Wheat Penny. The year 1946 represented a profound moment of transition for the United States and its coinage. World War II had finally concluded the previous year, and millions of American service members were returning home to rebuild their lives, start families, and fuel a booming post-war economy. The United States Mint reflected this return to normalcy by ending its wartime experimentation with penny compositions. After striking cents in zinc-coated steel in 1943 to save copper for the war effort, and then utilizing recycled brass shell casings from 1944 to 1945, the Mint finally returned to the traditional bronze alloy in 1946. This pre-war composition consisted of 95% copper and 5% tin and zinc, returning the Lincoln cent to its familiar weight of 3.11 grams and a diameter of 19.05 millimeters. The design, originally created by Victor David Brenner in 1909, remained unchanged. The obverse proudly featured the familiar profile of Abraham Lincoln, while the reverse showcased the iconic two stylized wheat stalks flanking the words 1 cent and United States of America. This classic wheat ears design, entirely distinct from the later Lincoln Memorial reverse that would not debut until 1959, remains one of the most celebrated and nostalgic artistic achievements in American numismatic history. The Philadelphia Mint, operating without a mint mark, produced over 561 million of these pennies in 1946. Because of this enormous mintage, the coin is fundamentally common in absolute numbers. Millions of these pennies immediately entered circulation, passing through the hands of a post-war generation buying newspapers, riding streetcars, and feeding parking meters. Over decades of commerce, these coins acquired heavy wear, scratches, environmental damage, and the deep brown patina that characterizes old copper. In the collector market, a heavily circulated 1946 wheat penny is generally worth only a few cents, serving as an affordable piece of history but holding no significant monetary premium. However, the narrative shifts dramatically when examining examples that somehow escape circulation. Professional grading services rely on the Sheldon numerical scale to evaluate strike quality, surface preservation, original luster, and overall eye appeal. For copper coins, color designations are equally critical. A coin designated as brown or red-brown will always trade for less than a coin designated as full red, which means it retains nearly all of its original mint brilliance. Finding a 1946 Lincoln cent in MS-66 full red is a challenge, but locating one in MS-67 full red borders on the extraordinary. At this elite level, the coin must exhibit flawless, uninterrupted cartwheel luster, a razor-sharp strike on Lincoln's hair, and the delicate lines of the wheat ears, and an absolute absence of distracting contact marks or carbon spotting. When an authenticated MS-67 full red example appears at major auction houses, it can command prices well into the hundreds or even thousands of dollars, driven entirely by registry set collectors demanding the absolute finest known survivors. Beyond condition, specialists also meticulously search for documented die varieties and mint errors. The 1946 Philadelphia issue is known for several fascinating anomalies, most notably double dies. A double die occurs when the coin's design is duplicated on the working die itself, resulting in overlapping details. Advanced collectors use high-powered magnification to inspect the date, the word liberty, and the phrase "in God we trust" for signs of genuine doubling. While a major double die can significantly increase a coin's value, numismatists must remain cautious. Mechanical doubling, which happens when the coin shifts slightly during the striking process, creates a flat, shelf-like appearance that adds no collector value whatsoever. Furthermore, the marketplace is frequently populated by altered or artificially enhanced coins. Unscrupulous individuals will sometimes chemically clean or artificially tone a common brown 1946 penny to simulate the highly desired full red appearance. This deceptive practice strips away the original surface metal and leaves the coin with an unnatural, harsh glare that professional graders immediately identify as altered surfaces. For anyone fortunate enough to possess a potentially valuable uncirculated example, proper preservation is paramount. The coin should only be handled by its very edges to prevent the oils from human skin from permanently etching into the delicate copper. It should be stored in an inert, archival quality holder away from extreme humidity and temperature fluctuations. Through careful observation and strict authentication, the 1946 Lincoln wheat cent transforms from a simple post-war relic into a masterclass on condition, rarity, and numismatic discipline. 1951 D. Lincoln wheat penny. Fast forward just 5 years, and the United States found itself in a vastly different geopolitical landscape. By 1951, the nation was heavily engaged in the Korean War, an era defined by the looming threat of the Cold War, the rapid expansion of American suburbs, and a surging industrial sector. To meet the massive demands of a booming domestic economy, the United States Mint relied heavily on its branch facilities to keep commerce flowing. The Denver Mint, proudly displaying its familiar D Mint mark just below the date on the obverse, stepped up to produce over 625 million Lincoln wheat pennies that year. Like its 1946 counterpart, the 1951 D cent was struck using the traditional bronze alloy of 95% copper and 5% tin and zinc, maintaining the standard 3.11 gram weight. It featured Brenner's historic portrait on the front and the beloved twin wheat stalks on the back. It is vital for collectors to remember that no 1951 penny will ever feature the Lincoln Memorial design, as the wheat ears motif remained the sole reverse imagery until the series was overhauled at the end of the decade. The staggering production numbers out of Denver meant that the 1951 D was everywhere. It was a staple of everyday life, used by children buying candy and adults paying for postage stamps. Because so many were minted, they are abundant in lower circulated grades. A worn 1951 D with a flattened portrait and heavily faded wheat lines is a fascinating historical artifact, but it is not a rare treasure, typically trading for just a few pennies over its face value. The sheer volume of coins struck at Denver also took a heavy toll on the working dies. High-speed production often led to late-stage die wear, resulting in coins that display soft, mushy details, particularly in the fine strands of Lincoln's hair and the upper tips of the wheat ears. This manufacturing reality makes finding a fully struck, pristine example incredibly difficult. When a collector sets out to find a 1951 D in a certified grade of MS67 full red, they are looking for a needle in a massive copper haystack. The coin must possess blazing original luster, a powerful and complete strike that transferred every microscopic detail from the die to the planche, and surfaces entirely free from the carbon spots that so frequently plague mid-century copper coins. When such an elite, top population example is authenticated by a third-party grading service, bidding wars ensue. These exceptional survivors have been known to realize thousands of dollars at auction, proving once again that in the world of numismatics, preservation always trumps mintage numbers. The 1951 D is also highly celebrated among variety specialists due to the prevalence of repunched mint marks, commonly referred to as RPMs. During this era, mint marks were still punched into the working dies by hand using a steel mallet and a specialized punch. If the mint employee did not strike the punch perfectly straight, or if they needed to strike it a second time to leave a deeper impression, the second D would often overlap the first, creating a distinct secondary mint mark visible under magnification. Several recognized RPM varieties exist for the 1951D, ranging from subtle shifts to dramatic spreads, where the underlying D protrudes clearly from the primary letter. These genuine errors add a thrilling layer to the collecting experience, as they represent a fleeting human mistake permanently frozen in copper. Additionally, collectors occasionally encounter what are known as BIE errors on early 1950s pennies. This occurs when a small die break forms between the letters B and E in the word liberty, creating what appears to be an extra letter I. While generally not as valuable as a major RPM or an MS-67 full red condition rarity, BIE errors are highly collectible and serve as excellent examples of progressive die deterioration. As always, the presence of genuine errors requires strict authentication, as the marketplace is not immune to deception. Post-mint damage is frequently misrepresented as rare mint errors by those hoping to capitalize on inexperienced buyers. Scratches, gouges, and environmental corrosion can sometimes mimic the appearance of a die crack or a clipped planche. Furthermore, copper cents are incredibly sensitive to their environment. A beautiful uncirculated 1951D can be permanently ruined if stored in a PVC-laden plastic holder, which will eventually react with the copper to form a sticky, damaging green slime. Archival quality mylar flips or hard acrylic capsules are essential for anyone looking to preserve the integrity and original color of a high-grade specimen. The 1951D Lincoln Wheat Penny stands as a testament to American industry during the early years of the Cold War. It is a coin that was struck by the hundreds of millions to fuel a growing nation, yet it yields its greatest rewards only to those who are willing to look closely. From the microscopic layering of a repunched mint mark to the flawless brilliance of a top-tier registry coin, the 1951D reminds us that the true magic of coin collecting lies in the details. Ultimately, whether examining a post-war 1946 Philadelphia strike or a Korean War-era 1951D, the lesson remains the same. True numismatic value is never determined merely by the date stamped on the obverse. It is forged through an incredible convergence of pristine preservation, certified originality, verified manufacturing anomalies, and the enduring passion of collectors who refuse to accept ordinary at face value. The next time you encounter one of these small, familiar copper pieces, remember the history it has survived and the extraordinary potential it might hold.